Hello, everyone. At the request of one of my viewers, we're going to do a trailer review today. So we're going to be talking about this Big Tex trailer, but a lot of the information that I'm going to be giving you guys will, you're going to get useful information if you're buying a trailer in general. Okay, so obviously this is a utility trailer. I put basically my tractor onto this that you see right here. So this is a 20-foot trailer. Okay, and it weighs 2,500 pounds. So the trailer by itself weighs 2,500 pounds, and the gross weight of this trailer is 9,999 pounds. Okay, so the reason why they say that instead of 10,000 pounds, because if you go up to 10,000 pounds, you got to upgrade your driver's license. So that's why they'll drop a pound on the quoted gross vehicle weight of the trailer. So, but basically, it's safe to say that it's a 10,000 pound trailer that weighs, the trailer itself weighs 2,500 pounds. So your payload is the difference, all right? So the max that I can put on this thing would be the difference between the 10,000 pounds and its 2,500 pound the 2,500 pound weight of the trailer itself. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. Now the other thing you got to be aware of is it's a 20-foot trailer. Okay, but out here in the front you got your A-frame, so that adds another 4.5 feet. So the total length of the trailer ends up actually, because you got the 4.5 feet over here, and then you've got about, let's say, another, whatever, it's probably about 12 inches out the back over here. So if you're because you got the ramp sticking out the back, so if you're concerned about the overall length of the trailer, you have to factor those two things in. So I would say that if this is like a 26 foot long trailer, if I was concerned about storing it. Okay, so those are the two things that you have to take into account. Okay, so where are we now? So here's one of the things I wanted to mention is that as far as selecting the length of the trailer, right? Let's say you're trying to stay at 10,000 pounds. As the trailer gets longer, you're adding more metal to the frame. So that's going to reduce the payload. So the trailer that I had before this was an 18-foot trailer. Basically the 18-foot was not long enough for carrying this tractor here with the implements, right? Because the tractor itself is only about 9 feet long, and then with the bucket in the front, it comes out to about 14 feet long. So I'm thinking, okay, 14 feet, you add an implement to the back, all right? So I figured that 18-foot trailer would be enough. It's not, because once you load the tractor onto the trailer with the implement, you've got to be able to balance it, right? Because you don't want the freight going to, the weight going towards the front. Because the way they design these trailers, if you look over here in the front section, there's no wheels over here, right? So if you were to load this tractor and basically just park it right in the middle of this trailer and center it, okay, like a lot of the weight would be going to the front of the tractor and basically going down through the hitch into the, basically your tow vehicle is carrying half the weight almost of whatever you're towing. Okay, so especially with the mid-sized truck that I'm towing with over there, that's a Tacoma, Toyota Tacoma. I don't want a whole lot of weight going to the front of this trailer because my tow hitch is basically rated for about 640 pounds. That's my tongue weight. Okay, so I don't want the weight going to the front. So I want this trailer to be long enough so that I can center the tractor over these wheels in the back, okay, and have the weight go down into the wheels instead of going out to the front through, out to the front to the tongue, right, and giving me all that extra tongue weight. Okay, so that's why you need, this is a big concern. How much weight do you have out here in the back? So I got all this extra space over here where I can hang the tractor out the back. I can hang the implements out the back behind the wheels here and give me a good balance. Okay, so that's an important consideration when you're selecting a trailer. So the earlier trailer that I had, that was an 18-foot. its payload, because it was shorter, it had a higher payload capacity. It could actually hold an extra 500 pounds, because basically the extra 2 feet of this trailer, okay, reduces the payload by 500 pounds. So with this trailer over here, 20 feet long, right, as far as the usable space on the trailer itself, it reduces the payload by 500 pounds, right? So that's an important consideration. These are things that you have to balance out, and you have to consider these things, okay? So what I'm going to show you guys now is how I load this guy up, because here's the thing. Right now, this thing is rested on the ground, and when you're storing it, what you want to do is first of all, I I rest it on a block, all right? And then what I do is I want to bring it down all the way, because I don't want that metal exposed to the air and rusting, because there's grease inside that leg over there. So when I'm storing it, I want to collapse it so that it doesn't get rained on, basically, okay? Because that's the part that's moving up and down. So I don't want that exposed to the air. So for long term, if I'm going to be storing it for more than a few days, I'm going to collapse it, okay? So now, as far as getting it up, there's 2 ways. I can either sit here and hand crank it, which I'm perfectly capable of doing, but you know what? At 7 o'clock in the morning, that's not what I feel like doing. So what I'm going to do is I got this hitch set up on the back of the tractor here. So on the quick hitch, I've got this. I've added this. I don't know, whatever you call it. On the quick hitch, I've added this trailer hitch, which is very useful for moving the trailer around the property without having to hook it up to the truck. Because it's a lot easier to just look over your shoulder and see when you're hooking up. So I'm going to use this to basically lift up the trailer and then easily lower the leg, and then I can bring the truck back and hook up to it. So I'm going to put the camera on a tripod. I'm going to show you guys how I do it. Hold on, let me pause this. But that rooster won't shut up today. That's a lot easier doing it that way than trying to crank up the weight of the trailer. So the whole thing weighs 2,500 pounds. So basically, it's probably at least 1,000 pounds going to the front. So now I'm just going to drop it, and then I can bring the truck up. Alright, so now I'm going to bring up my truck, and I'm just going to try and get it underneath that, whatever you call it, I forget what it's called. I'm gonna the coupler. I'm gonna try to back up my truck and get the coupler underneath it. Now, this new truck that I have, this new 2022 Tacoma, has a backup camera, which is actually very useful for hooking up to a trailer. All right, because my old truck, which did not have one, I had to keep getting in and out in order to see what my position was. I'm gonna pause the camera. Let me bring my truck a little bit closer, and you guys can watch the hookup. All right, so I got the truck positioned so I can back up to it. One of the things I forgot to do is I want to paint the coupler white. Okay, so you see this part right here? This part here, if you're using a backup camera, you want to paint that a different color than the rest of the trailer so that as you're backing up to it, you can see it, you know, because one of the things I noticed that in my backup camera, it's hard to distinguish the coupler from the rest of the trailer. I'm not going to do it now. First of all, it's too cold for spray paint. Probably wouldn't dry too well. So let's back this up. And now this is only like my third or fourth time hooking up to this with the backup camera, so I'm not expecting to be really good at using this backup camera. Looks like I got it. Backup camera's pretty good. I think I'm right over it. Actually, I need to lift it up that high. Let me move you guys over a little bit so you can see where it ended up. So yeah, I ended up lifting it up a little bit too high. I'm gonna lower that a little bit. Now one of the things that you want to do is when you position yourself, you want to pull your parking brake. Because what happens if you have an automatic transmission and you put it to park, the truck's gonna roll and it's gonna basically let that move out of position. Okay, so when you think you're in the perfect position, pull your parking brake before you park. I need to roll up this a little bit. I think that was just a matter of dropping the parking brake. Just move right position. So let me bring you guys a little bit closer so you can see what that looks like. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, first thing I'm gonna do is take this off. Now usually when you do that, you see how this doesn't, sometimes it won't go forward all the way. This time it did. Move you guys a little bit. So this is one of the things I learned way back. So a lot of times when you drop this won't go forward all the way. What you gotta do is you just gotta basically let your truck roll forward a little bit. because basically it's sitting on this. So when you pull forward, that's gonna basically make this thing drop. And most of the time it'll get stuck there. I'll pull forward just a couple of inches, and all of a sudden I'll hear it go click from inside of the truck. Okay. So the next thing you do is you take the chains. Okay, nice. They tell you you're supposed to cross the chains. I don't think it makes a difference in the world, but in some states you're legally required to do it. The main reason why I cross the chains is just to shorten the chain up a little bit, so that, you know, just to make sure, because I don't need a really long chain. I don't need it dragging on the ground. So that's the main reason why I cross my chains, just because it's a small truck, so I don't need that much. I don't need that extra length. So that goes there. Okay, so now this is the emergency brake cable. Okay, so with this, what I'll do is I'll just run this through one of the lights. So the point of this is that this became separated. This would basically engage the emergency brakes on the trailer. So I'll pull this through one of those loops. Then what I'll do is I'll run the pin through here. Okay, very important. Don't forget to put your pin. And then I'll use the pin to hold the emergency cable in place. All right, there you go. So now what I'm going to do is, that's good. Oh, and also your cable. You can actually hook up the cable. So I'll hook that up over here. Just kind of push that in. Okay, looks like it's in position. And let me turn on my lights. Let me see if the lights. As soon as I put on the lights, these little lights over here should light up right away. That usually tells you that the lights are hooked up and working good. There you go. So you see how that light's hooked up over there. So, and normally, you know, I'll go back, I'll do the left signal, right signal thing, but that's usually a good indication, seeing that light up, that I've got a good connection. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the trailer on some hard ground, and I'll actually load up the tractor so you guys can see me load up the tractor. And you're going to see what I mean about the balancing. Let me pause this camera. I'm going to pull up the trailer over here. So without any weight even on the trailer yet, right? Just the weight of the trailer alone has caused the truck to pitch up a little bit. So normally, when I measure the height from the ground, the back is like 36 inches, and the front is usually lower. It's usually at 33 inches. So what's happened now is the front is actually a little bit higher by 1 inch. So that's one of the things you want to pay attention to, right? See where we're at here, and then when we load the tractor up, we don't want that to sit too much. One of the things I hate about these mid-size trucks is the suspension is way too soft. Okay, I mean they basically designed these things for a smooth ride. You know, I'm not buying a truck for a smooth ride. I'm buying it to carry stuff. Okay, so let me show you guys something else that's really important that you guys are going to want to pay attention to when you're buying a trailer. Let me pause this. All right, so let's look at the ramps. Okay, so now this the older trailer I had, right, the one that was 18 feet long, the ramps were really high. So the beaver tail, it didn't have a beaver tail that came down this low. The ramps were and as a result, the ramps had to be much higher, and they were really heavy, just lifting up and down. With this design, because this beaver tail comes down low, these ramps can be a lot shorter, which is basically a lot less work. Now the way these ramps are set up is they slide back and forth, right? So they'll slide back and forth so that you can position it. Basically, I need to center it, okay? And then you drop it. But one of the things that you'll notice, you see on the back leg over here, right? You see how there's a lot of extra space there, right? When the tractor goes up on this, that's gonna sit down a little bit. You don't want this too long, because what's going to happen is if that's too long, when you go to lower these, especially if the ground's uneven, those are going to hit the ground. And that was like a real pain in the ass for my old trailer, because a lot of times those would just hit the ground, like I couldn't get the ramps down. So let me show you a back view here for a second, so you understand what I'm talking about with the sliding back and forth. So you see how, first of all, these are really easy to lift up. So the other ones that I had that were longer, I couldn't lift them with one hand. Okay? So this slides back and forth. And of course, I put some lithium grease over there to keep this nice and smooth. And then you just lower this. You know, for me, I just gotta center it. I'll do the same thing with this one. Move this over. Center it. All right, so this is something that you want to pay attention to. How easily do your ramps go down, and do you have enough clearance over here so that on uneven ground you'll be able to lower the ramps? Okay? We back the camera up and I'll actually load up the tractor. See, I'll bring you back here. Hopefully the camera doesn't get blown over again. Got blown over earlier. Actually, let me bring it back a little further. This way you can also see the truck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward a little bit. When I see that the truck is basically sitting too far, you know, sits too, like squats too low, I'll back it up. Other thing that's nice about this, you got this little step ramp over here, so you can get down. So, one of the things I'm going to do here now is I'm going to, there's still plenty of room. So you see how I'm actually able to pull the trailer up, right? So if I'm able to pull the trailer up, that means that the bulk of the weight is sitting on the wheels, not on my trailer hitch. Now, obviously, this truck, I think its tow capacity is a max of 6,400 pounds, 6,400 pounds, and I'm right there. I'm right at that tow, at that max towing capacity when you add the trailer and you add the weight of the tractor together. So basically, this setup here is basically designed for like occasional towing locally, right? I'm not going on the highway and driving like 200, 300 miles with this. This is basically to get the tractor in for service if I need it, or if somebody needs some work done around here locally within 20 miles or so, I can get it there and I can do some work. So this is not intended for like for a lot of towing, right? Now one of the things I have is I have a, let me bring you up to the truck and I'll show you guys. All right, so when I take my tape measure, first of all, and when I come here, I see that I'm at exactly 35 inches, exactly where I was before. In fact, maybe I think this might have even lifted up a quarter of an inch. So what that means is I don't have enough trailer weight, and if I hit any bumps, basically the trailer might want to tip back a little bit. So I'm going to want to slide this forward just a little bit more, you know, and bring this down to maybe like 34.5 inches, okay? This way you know, I want a little bit of tongue weight. I don't want too much, but I want just a little bit to make sure that my wheels stay on the ground and I got good traction. Let me show you guys as far as the, actually let me pause the camera for a second. So one of the concerns with these small trucks is overheating the transmission oil. Okay, so what these trucks have, if you look inside over here, right, in front of the radiator, because you got your main radiator there, and then you have a transmission cooler in front. So you got two radiators, one for the water, one for your transmission oil, right? So that's something important to consider. So there's a 6 liter. So now, if you're going uphill for a long period of time, that transmission oil can get really hot. So what I have here, it's called the Scan Gauge 2. Okay, that's not going to be its final spot. I'm still playing around with this, but what it does is I've set it up so that it, through the truck's computer, which hooks up down here, right, the OSB 2, it reads the transmission temperature. So right now it's at 91 degrees, right? Transmission fluid 2, and there's 2 of them. You can have the transmission temperature for the oil pan, right, underneath your transmission, and you can have it for the torque converter. I decided to just keep one, the torque converter, right? Because that's going to be the higher one. That's going to be the one that fluctuates more. And then I have it set up so that it shows me the gear, what gear this thing's pulling in, because the problem with Tacoma, they give you this stupid electronic, they give you all these electronics with these fancy displays here, but they don't give you the information that you really need to work with the truck. So that's that. I had to pay extra. This little gadget cost $160. Tells me the gear I'm in, tells me what the transmission temperature is, tells me what the engine temperature is. Right now it's at 86, and it tells me what the water temperature is, because the water gauge that comes with the truck is useless. It's not sensitive enough that keeps track of my water temperature. Okay, but now as far as with this Tacoma, when towing heavy, I'm going to hit that ETC button over there, which basically just stretches out the gears. It holds the gears a little bit longer into position before they shift, so you get a little bit more torque. And if you're towing locally, what you got to do is you got to shift it from, instead of being in D, you put it over to the S position, which basically locks it. Basically, if you shift over to S, it'll lock it into the. It's a gear limiter, so it won't go above 4th gear, because your 5th and 6th gear are overdrive gears. Now, I did talk to a Tacoma about this, and they said if you're on the highway and you're at cruising speed, yeah, you can shift over to D and let it get into the overdrive gears, right? So you can conserve a little bit of gas, but keep an eye on the transmission temperature. If it the limit that they gave me was 280 degrees. So if that TF2, right, where it's at 95 now, normally it's going to be like, if I'm not towing anything, it usually runs at about I forgot what it normally runs at. I think 140 or so, I think. That's if I'm not towing anything. I think I think it might even go up to 170. But anyway, if I'm towing, all right, if I'm towing heavy, it should be somewhere around 260. All right, and if it goes up to 280, basically I need to pull the truck over, let it idle, and let the transmission cool down. And the way you cool down the transmission is you just let it idle, so that that transmission, so basically the fluids are running through that cooler over there, the one I talked about a minute ago, and it's cooling down the oil. So that's how you cool down the transmission when it gets too hot, right? You just pull over, you let it idle, and you let the fluids run through that cooler. And then when it comes down to about to about 160, 260, that's basically where I'm going to be operating at. Around 260 to 270, 280, it's too hot. It's starting to get too hot. You definitely don't want it to 300. If it gets up to 300, you pretty much have cooked your transmission oil, and you need to get the transmission oil changed pretty quickly before it starts doing damage to the transmission itself. Okay, so hope this video was useful. And like I said, right now in the back here, I'm going to have to roll it up just an inch. When you roll this up, it's just a matter of rolling it up like an inch. And the best way to judge this is with the tape measure. You want to basically see what how low you're squatting before you load it, and then squat. Roll up to it. It should squat maybe an extra half inch to an inch should be fine. That should give me enough traction, give me enough tongue weight, but you don't want to have too much tongue weight. Okay, so I hope this video was useful. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Drop some comments below, and if you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. Hey, other important thing I forgot to mention is, before you roll onto the trailer or off the trailer, don't just put it in park if you got an automatic transmission. pull up the parking brake. Again, and this is a horrible spot where they put this parking brake. I wish they had the pull lever underneath the dashboard. This just takes up a lot of valuable space here. They could have had, you know, they could have put like another container here so I could put stuff in there, you know. I much prefer the parking brake to be a T-hook underneath the dashboard. But anyway, you want to pull your parking brake before you load and unload your trailer, because because the truck's going to want to roll back and forth, and you don't want the transmission taking that, basically this gear that holds it in park is not the most powerful gear in the world. So you can definitely break that gear, the park gear. So you pull the parking brake and let the parking brakes do the work.